Hi guys, welcome back to my online poker diary. I've finally gotten around to playing the next 1,000 hands, and let's just get straight into it. So the first hand we have pocket jacks, and we open. We get a min 3-bet from the big blind, and just a quick look at his stats. We've played 26 hands with him. He has played every single hand, raising half of them, and then 3-betting a shit ton as well. So this is just extremely wide, and we should be able to 4-bet very happily against him. So we 4-bet, and we get a call, and we see a flop of 6-5-4. Dangerous waters because, he's got a very wide range, and he's going to have a lot of straight sets, 2 pairs, but he's also going to have flush draws, straight draws, and over pairs, and then just the overcards as well. He checks, and we bet a third. In hindsight, against this specific opponent, I think I would just prefer betting 2/3, planning to jam the turn for value. I think that's the best way to both get value and extract max value. However, as played, we bet a third, which I'm imagining we would do with the entire range. Or if it's not with our entire range, then jacks with jack of diamonds is a very nice one to choose because it needs some kind of protection. And, it's just a nice hand to get value from because we have no pair to the board. We get called, the turn is the 8, our opponent checks, and because this is a really bad card, I really like checking here. The river's the deuce, and he bets, and this is a pretty gross spot, but just one quick glance at his river stats and his turn stats. Flop stats are kind of alright because he plays a lot of hands, so he'll end up check calling a lot, so that's why his bet's only half, whereas his turn and river are like really aggressive. So the fact that he likes to bet turns and rivers, it's like, well, he likes to bet the river a lot. We need to have 31%. Another way to interpret that is, does he have a bluff or worse value once in 3 out of 10 times? And I believe that this guy will have a bluff or worse value, like ace-8, at least 3 out of 10 times. It's really hard to actually put a number on it, but like, imagining his range being so wide, he could have missed flush draws here. He could have ace-3, which, to be fair, is a straight. There's actually not a lot of bluffs here, at least natural bluffs. But yeah, it's rough. I think it's really close between a call and a fold against pretty much every other kind of opponent. If this is a snap fold, but because this guy's so aggressive and wide, it's pretty gross. In real time, I ended up calling. He had the straight, so it's whatever, Let's move on to the next one. Next one, we have kings, and we raise it up. Get 3-bet to a huge sizing by this guy who seems very fishy. He's got really wide stats, but funnily enough, he has 3-bet 5 out of 20 times now. So, just pretty cool. I do call, but I prefer just 4-betting here and just getting it in because against his fairly wide 3-betting range, I do want to just get it in and try and get max value. Also, if he folds, that's pretty good because we dodged the rake, which is a pretty big consideration. The only merit to calling here is to try and trap Vildos, but because the 3-bet is so huge, this trap is going to be very ineffective. So in hindsight, I just like jamming. Anyway, we call, see a jack high flop, and he actually checks to us, which is surprising. But this is a pretty good spot for us with an overpair. We're going to try and get value from like queens, ace jack, that kind of stuff. So we bet a quarter, which I don't mind, and we get min raised, which is, it just looks extremely fishy, right? It looks like aces or jacks, but you could have queens here and ace jack, and you could have a wide range of hands. So pretty happy to either jam or call. I think I prefer jamming to calling, just because like if he has ace jack, then we secure the value right there because it's likely going to call. Whereas if we call and he has ace jack, then a queen is pretty bad and a king is pretty bad. Anyway, we call. He checks on the 9, and because we've got 122 into 211, I don't think there's any other choice but to try and get value. And unfortunately, we run into aces, so I don't think it really matters how we played that hand. Against aces specifically, we're always going to lose our entire stack. However, against other hands like queens and ace jack, I think I could have played it a bit better. Could have played it a bit better for sure. Okay, this one we have king queen. See a raise and a flat, and we decide to squeeze, which is something that I think we should be doing sometimes, but not all the time. So this time I decide to squeeze. We got a call, and a fold. Flop top pair, good kicker. But because we're out of position, I don't mind a check. But because we have top pair, I don't mind a bet. I think it's something you kind of have to mix in. So I decide to check, which is completely fine. And it checks round. When it checks round, I'm pretty happy because it means no one really has aces or ace king. So yeah, the turn 9 is pretty good. We only lose to 9s now. And we decide to bet to try and get value from queens, jacks, 10s, and like king jack, king 10 suited, you know, those kinds of hands. We can face a call and another call, which is kind of surprising because everyone decided to check the flop, which I don't know. Maybe they both have a flush draw, or one of them has a king, one of them has a flush draw. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The rivers are at an 8, and we've got $1 into $3, so there's no choice in my mind but to just go for the value. So we do, and unfortunately we run into pocket 9s. Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. But this guy has a massive stack and is running good, so you know, you got to do your part. Okay, finally we have pocket jacks under the gun. We open it up, and we get 2 callers from the blinds. We flop middle set, and it checks to us. We decide to bet 1/3 pot. One thing to note is that I'm not doing this with my entire range this time, because we're not heads up. Because we're multi-way, I think we should be more selective with our value bets and our bluffs. But we do have a pretty strong range advantage, so I don't mind betting 1/3, but I think I would prefer betting just 2/3, just going for max value. Anyway, we got a fold and a call. Turn 4 checks, and we decide to overbet, which I think is pretty good. We want to get max value. We got a call, and the river is another 4. Because the board has paired, I don't think we can just jam here because it will just be a bit too large, and we just push him off his ace-x rather too easily. Because the board paired, I prefer a smaller sizing, like a half pot or 2/3, something like that is completely fine in my mind because it secures calls from ace-x pretty much 100% of the time versus most people, whereas jamming just pushes them off it. Luckily for us, we get min raised, which basically tells us that he has 8s, ace-4 suited, or aces. So against that range, we want to jam, and we get called off by ace-4 suited, which is quite nice, and we scoop that pot for ourselves. This is kind of an interesting one because it's the first time that we've covered 3 hands where we lost and only 1 hand that we won. That's the first time we've done more hands that we lost. But overall, we still ended up winning over the last 1,300 hands, which is quite nice. It means that we must have won like a lot of small to medium pots to make up for the 3 biggest pots that we lost. If we look at our entire graph for now, we are up $22, so we've got a little upswing here. We're not at 21, we're actually at 22. And we're maintaining a nice, strong win rate of 15 big blinds per 100, which I think is great. My only regret is that it took me 5 days to play the last 1,300 hands, so hopefully I get to play more poker, but, you know, as work is work, and I'm always going to be fighting to try and get my work done and then play poker in my spare time. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the next 1,000 hands, and hopefully I can make this graph fly even higher than what it is now. Alright, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.